Hello, my name is Jim. Welcome to my booktube channel about books and reading and stuff. It's not Tuesday, but I want to do a tag anyway. It's Wednesday. The tag I want to do is Bookish Firsts Tag, created by Monica at Mooney Reads. I was tagged by Alan from Big Hard Books and Classics. Thank you, Alan. So, without further ado, let's get into it. First prompt. What was the first full-length book you remember reading on your own? Not like a picture book or anything. Well, that would be Ash Road by Ivan Southall. This was about three 15-year-olds in Australia who went on a camping trip on their own and accidentally set off a bushfire. But from there, despite all the troubles they endured, I've always had an interest in Australia since reading that book. Question 2. What was the first series you remember finishing? This would be the Narnia series that began with The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe and Prince Caspian and finished with The Last Battle. The first two books of the series were read to me by my mother, but I read the other 5 on my own. Question 3. What was the first book to movie adaptation you watched knowing it was a book to movie adaptation? This is going right back to the late 60s, and I watched Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. This was a book by Ian Fleming. I wish I could hold up the Corgi Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I don't have that, but I do have this Rolls Royce I picked up this week from Drybridge Market. This is a 1906 Rolls Royce Silver Ghost, but unlike Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, it doesn't fly and it doesn't float on the water. Question 4. Who was your first bookish crush? Like a lot of males, I think I'm more visual. It's not from what I'm reading. As a young kid, I think my first crush was on the Soviet gymnast Olga Korbut. I find this interesting because Alan mentioned Nadia Comaneci as his first crush. I even remember going in the 70s to an exhibition in London of Soviet gymnasts and being disappointed, or gutted really, because Olga Korbut didn't show up. What's interesting about having this crush on Olga Korbut is that she's from the Soviet Union, and now my wife is also from the Soviet Union. I live in the former Soviet Union in Georgia, and my wife is quite gymnastic. Here you can see a video of her cartwheeling in front of the Eiffel Tower. 5. Who was your first bookish friend? In class in school, the boys who read a lot were Alex Wynne and Yemi Kalimor. These were my friends anyway because we played football together, not really because we all read books. Question 6. What's the first adult book you remember reading, not for school? I think this would probably be one of the Alistair MacLean books, and I think the first one I read by Alistair MacLean was Caravan to Vacaries. I think I picked it up because I liked the cover with the man about to face the charging bull. Alistair MacLean wrote lots of thrillers, and my parents had a lot of these, and Caravan to Vacaries was set in the south of France. I don't remember a lot about it. There were some gypsies in it and there was some bullfighting, but I can't tell you much more about it. Question 7. Who was your first character role model, bookish role model? I didn't really have one growing up. I think Matilda from Roald Dahl's book would be a good role model because she loved reading, even though her parents hated reading and couldn't understand her interest in reading. Who was the first author you were truly inspired by? Again, I'm not sure. I like the cartoonist Bill Watterson, who created the Calvin and Hobbes strip. I like the fact that he never sold out, that he wouldn't merchandise the strip, that he believed it as a comic strip in its own right, and that any merchandising would dilute the product. Question 9. What is the first book you remember touching or really moving you? This would be going back a very long way. Maybe when I was 8 or 9, I read a book called Capeau the Leopard by René Guillot. I read it in English, and this was a story of a leopard cub who was separated from its mother because of a forest fire, more fires, and I remember feeling very sorry for the leopard cub because it was very thirsty, but it was used to its mother's milk. And I remember when it tried water for the first time and was able to slake its thirst. This was very moving for me as an 8 or 9 year old. What was the first classic you read that was not for school? I read a lot of Jules Verne books. I don't know which was the first I read. I read Around the World in 80 Days, I read 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and I read Journey to the Centre of the Earth. And these were all fantastic books. What was the first YA novel you read? When I was growing up, I wasn't aware of YA. Later, when I worked in the library, we had what we called teen reads, but I wasn't interested in them at the time because I was reading books from the adult library. I guess the first YA book I read, knowing it was YA, was The Hunger Games. Question 12. What was the first ebook you read? The first ebook I read was As I Died Laughing by David Lloyd. This I got free from Amazon. I got this because David Lloyd is my friend on Facebook, and I knew he'd written the book and I wanted to read it. So this was the first book I tried as an ebook. Now I regularly read ebooks, but at the time it was quite a novelty. So that was my take on the tag. Now who do I tag? I know. I'm going to tag the first 5 booktubers in my subscription feed, who are as Jennifer Brooks, Guilty Feet, Paula at Draw Your Book, Kate Howe, and Jeremy Fee. I don't know if any of them have done the tag or if any of them want to do the tag, but these are the 5 booktubers I'll tag. If you like this video, you can like and subscribe below, and I will see you on the next video. Goodbye.